Hello all, welcome to the video. Today we are going to be going over my November and my December wrap up because I never did it back for November, so we're going to be doing 2 months. So I had two polar opposite reading months. November I read 8 books in the month of November, and then I only read 4 in the month of December. I thought December was going to be a super good reading month, or at least in comparison to November, because I mean, any type of reading month, it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just, what did I read? So I had an amazing month in November. December, I did not read as much. So I thought I was going to read more. I had my TBR set and ready to go for December, and it just didn't happen. Which is okay. It was a mix of a reading slump / other hobbies getting in the way. Well, not really getting in the way, but I was doing other hobbies and who knows what. So let's get started with November. Like I said, I read a total of 8 books in the month of November. And I am going to mention a 9th only because I finished it in technically there is a 9th book, but it's just the first book that I finished in November because I started it in October and then finished it early November. And so the first book, which is technically like the last book of October, however you want to look at it, but I wanted to make sure I talked about it, was The Garan Gomiho by Sophie Kim. This was so much fun to read. I had such a good time. The dynamic between Kim Hani and Sioka was super, super cute. So if you're not familiar, Kim Hani is what's known as the Scarlet Fox. So she is like this tall tale these days. And so Sioka is called, his title now currently is Sioka the Fallen, because he like waged war and now make up he pretty much has to pay a price in order to become a god again after waging the war. And so he has this number of lists of there's a certain unruly, I think they're called unrulies. They're like the creatures that went to war with him, but he has to take care of all of these unruly menaces and a certain many high number of them in order to gain back his title of a god. And excuse me, what ends up happening is Kim Hani is brought on as his assistant. She slips her way into being his little assistant, but also has to keep her secret that she is the Scarlet Fox, because a deal is made with Sioka that if he can, I think there's one individual that he needs to help, and then as well as capture the Scarlet Fox, he can become God again. So of course she's doing all she can to keep that little bit a secret and to keep him away from her trail. So this was a certain fun read. I could definitely see myself reading this again in time. Oh, I rated this a 3-star. It was super, super cute. Loved. So after that, I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This is a book where our main girl has I don't remember the condition off the top of my head, but she gets into an accident where she can no longer recognize faces. Well, gets into an accident and then upon waking has this condition because of a built-up pressure in her brain at a certain point, and over time it can revert itself to her being able to see people again. And part of this whole process is this guy that she meets along the way, and but it's really cute because of the fact that she can't recognize him. And so it's a very interesting story, and I absolutely loved it. Rated it 3 stars. And it was super cute because also it's like she's having the struggle because she's a portrait artist, and so she's trying to prepare for this massive presentation or competition, something like that, And so with the help of her best friend, they try to see if they can figure out how for her to work on faces without being able to see faces. So it's a cute little story. I enjoyed it. I find Catherine Center to be a fun author to read, because I read one or two other Catherine Centers, and I'm all of a sudden drawing a blank on it. I know one of them had to do with Bodyguard, The Bodyguard. I read The Bodyguard by her, and of course had to read more. And so I finally got to Hello Stranger after a while. But it was really cute. 3-star read. So up next, I listened to The Wren and the Holly Library on audiobook, renting it from my library. And this was an absolutely incredible read. I was unsure about... There was a certain part of it that I was unsure that it was going to, like, change my outlook on the book. But in The Wren and the Holly Library, we follow our two main characters, who I'll tell you their names in a second. Kierce is our female, and I'm drawing a blank on her male's name, and it's not giving it in, they're not giving his name in the synopsis, and I can't remember if that's just because of what his name is, or, but anyway, Kierce is our main character, and she has these interactions with, it's pretty much a time where, kind of like humans and monsters live cohesively, but there's still a lot of back and forth between the two. And so we start out the story by her, she's a thief and ends up going into steal from a house, not knowing who lives in the house, and ends up meeting our male main character, who goes on to hire her for a heist of his own. And it's their story of completing this heist and of everything that she learns along the way. And it's kind of like where there's so many puzzle pieces, and slowly but surely they all fit together while getting some other puzzle pieces thrown in the way. But this was so much fun. I was so immersed in the story. Fantastic. This was a 5-star read for me. Like I said, it got very close to not being a 5-star read, but by the end of it, it was fine. Like I said, there was just one little bit that I was concerned about, but it finished itself out nicely. So that was fun. I had such a good time reading that. And then so after that, I read The Ruby Code by Jessica Corey. This was a fun one. So a boy plays this game, and it's like a virtual reality game. And what I also love about this is that it's dystopian. And so Ash, our male main character, has this virtual reality game. Actually, no, he acquires the game through, I think he was on some kind of errand and interacted with a guy who handed this game off to him. And pretty much this man told Ash, keep this game safe. Like, whatever you do, keep it safe. And so he ends up playing the game. And inside the game is this, what we think is an NPC, but is actually somebody else. It's, they call her a sentient AI, Ruby. And they realize, with the help of his best friend, Ash finds out that Ruby is particular just to his version of the game. It was built by... like, she was built by another, and it pretty much becomes this whole adventure of keeping Ruby safe. And it's really cool. It becomes very complicated very quickly, but it was a super, super fun time. I rated this a 4-star. I had an absolute joy reading this, because also as a gamer myself, I understood a lot of the terminology. It was so much fun. If you are a gamer and into middle grade reads, I highly recommend. Super, super fun. So after that, I kind of went off my normal reading path onto a simple fiction. Well, I say simple, but just a more general fiction of Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I do that every time. Kingsolver. This was absolutely incredible. Barbara Kingsolver takes the story of Demon Copperhead and pretty much throws a modern twist on it. It's like the same story. Like I said, like, that it's based on I'm looking here. David Copperfield, that's where a lot of the inspiration came from, but she pretty much took and put a modern twist on it. And so Demon goes through all of these trials and tribulations and deals with things with his mother, the foster system, and just goes through every possible thing and more of what a kid goes through in life. Like, Demon had to do so much growing up and took so much on that it's like I was literally crying for Demon. Like, I literally took Demon into my heart and like wanted to help him. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was a 5-star read. I literally like could not put this down. Highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. Oh my goodness. All right. So, after that, I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I am slowly making my way through my Harry Potter reread. I've been dying to reread the books again, and I have also found the audiobooks of them. And so it's super, super fun to reread these again, because it's been a while since I've reread them. Because I've read the entire series 3 times now, but I'm slowly working my way through a 4th reread. And what's really fun is, like I said, I found some audiobooks through my library. And so it's making it super, super fun to listen to them and engage that way. Because also, this is the very first time I'm listening to the series as well, which has been super, super fun. And so I'm reading this, and the next book is on my TBR for January. If you saw my TBR video and you look at it and it's like, I read Chamber of Secrets and my TBR is saying Goblet of Fire. As I'm prepping for this video and I'm pulling my books out, I realized that I completely skipped over Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't know what happened. I thought I was on number 4, but in reality I'm on number 3. So in the month of January, I will be reading Prisoner of Azkaban. That was my fault. All of a sudden, like I said, all of a sudden I didn't see 3 on my Goodreads because I have the glare in my glasses is my iPad sitting right below the camera here, so that way I have it to know any books that I read digitally and audioly through the library and stuff. So I've got my Goodreads over here to look back on for the books in between the physical ones. And all of a sudden I'm like, where's number 3? And then all of a sudden I'm looking at my paperbacks, and I'm looking at this and looking at my Goodreads, and I'm like, I completely skipped number 3. So we will be reading Prisoner of Azkaban in the month of January. But I love this series. This series is what got me into reading when I was young. And so I love rereading my old books. So that was super fun. I'm not rating my Harry Potters only because, like I said, I've like read them 3 times already. And honestly, with the rating system that I use for all of my books, I can't imagine rating those books. In all honesty, it's one of those where it's like, it's rateless, I guess. Like when people say that something's priceless, my Harry Potter collection is rateless. So, continuing, we're still in the month of November. After Harry Potter, I then read Babel by R.F. Kuang. This was a fun read. I only rated it 3 stars, and I gotta look at the synopsis again, because like, why did I only rate it 3 stars? I don't think I was engaged as much as I was in things like Ren the Holly Library and stuff. But it was still a really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. In Babel, we follow our main character is Robin Swift, who is brought up by one of the teachers of, well, he was brought over to the US from Canton by one of our main teachers of Oxford. And so the teacher brings him over, Professor Lovell, I believe. Professor Lovell brings Robin Swift over and pretty much starts him on the journey of learning languages and being a part of Oxford's Babel program. Now, it is completely fantasy. it's fiction. Babel doesn't actually exist, okay? And she even did a tidbit at the beginning of the book that says, I did the best of my ability to recreate Oxford, but just know that Babel doesn't exist. But she pretty much put this fantasy on top of the reality, and it was really interesting. And some of the plot points that we come to later in the book, I think there was something about those that just I found okay. But overall, it was a very good read. Oh, okay, and so because there's also like this secret society that becomes involved, and it's like they start getting all caught in each other's webs, and we kind of, as we go, we learn more about why the secret society has built itself and why they're against Babel. It kind of becomes Babel against the secret society. And so throughout the story, we learn why they're essentially against each other in a way. And so that was really cool. After Babel, I read, in the last book that I read in the month of November is Normal People by Sally Rooney. And what's really funny is that Normal People was originally part of my December TBR, but when I had filmed it, it was like a week before the end of the month. So I ended up picking up Normal People in the month of November. But I read it anyway, because I've been wanting to expand my literary fiction reading. And so this, 5-star read. 5-star read. So we kind of have this unlikely pairing of our two main characters, Marianne and Connell. It's kind of like they grew up side by side, but they're like polar opposites of each other. And we pretty much follow them from their childhood. I think we start meeting them in like their teenage years, like they're coming up on finishing high school, I believe. Holy crap, why am I? Because they end up meeting because Connell's mom works for Marianne's mom. Is kind of like how they're initially set up. And so the problem that we end up having is, because of course now I rated it 5 stars and now I'm struggling to remember what it's about. If I remember correctly, it's kind of like a right person, never the wrong time kind of situation. But they know for a fact that they belong together, you know? But there was just, I'm like I said, I rated it 5 stars after reading it, but now I can't, I'm not remembering the in-between details here. But anyway, if I remember correctly, I think it's one of those like right person, not the right time kind of situations. But there's just something about it that the two of them just click. And it's just, it was a fascinating journey. And now now it's bugging me that I'm struggling to recall the book. But I promise, it's really, really good. I loved it. So that concluded the month of November. So in December, I read 4 books. I started by renting from my library. I rented Hera by Jennifer Saint. We follow the story of Hera over the years. It's kind of like how we kind of learn about how all of the areas, her and all of her siblings, there's many of them, but there are like 3 boys. And so of course we've got Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. And rather than everything getting split up evenly amongst the siblings, it's only split amongst those 3. And of course we know Poseidon takes water, Hades takes underworld, Zeus takes the heavens. And so it's pretty much her trying to be more than just a wife, more than just a mother, because she ends up like they end up just getting put into these roles of being wives and mothers. And it's like, it's honestly, it's not what she wants. But she does go through the process of having numerous kids, and we learn about all the kids. And of course, knowing Greek mythology, everybody's intertwined in one way or another. And so it was a little hard to keep track of everybody, but it was a really good read. Like, it was pretty sturdy. But yeah, I had a struggle with, because of the fact that they're all intertwined together, because like siblings are cousins, are significant others, or children. It's a whole thing. But again, Greek mythology. And then I Personally, the ending I think was just a tad lackluster for me. But like I said, overall, it was a very solid read. 3 stars. And then up next, I listened to the first 2 books of the All in the Game series, which are The Foxhole, and then I immediately followed it with The Raven King. This series follows what I originally thought was a romance. Is not a romance whatsoever. We follow this character, our mailman character by the name of Neil, and I say mailman character, but it's no romance. But our main character Neil is pretty much an orphan, and he finds love in this sport called EXY. EXY. I actually had to look at the book because I wanted to make sure I knew how it was spelled, because I was listening to it at the time. The sport of EXY, I feel like it's similar based off of the way that they are talking about it, listening to it. It sounds similar to lacrosse. I don't know if I don't think EXY is a real sport. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And so, but he ends up, he's finishing out high school, and his plan is to graduate high school and get the hell out. Because, like I said, he's an orphan. He also went through a very rough childhood. And he wants to get as far away from it as possible. And come to find out, that's the exact opposite of what he does. This EXY team comes to see his last game and wants to recruit him. And so, in the hope that this becomes a home, because that's all Neil wants is a home, he goes and figures, like, you know what, I'll play a year and then I'm out. But he starts really connecting with these boys who are on the team. We've got there's kind of like 2 different groups on this one team. We've got your upperclassmen, and then we have your underclassmen. And the underclassmen are guys who are similar to Neil, going through a lot of stuff. They're not the best of people, but like they mean well, but like they're different from the upperclassmen, and they've always struggled to connect the two. The underclassmen are all getting into trouble and doing who knows what. It's a whole thing. It's a very interesting dynamic. And so we pretty much the first book follows them through I want to say it's the first semester of the school year, and then the second book is the second semester of the first school year. And so as he continues, he's learning to trust these individuals that he's playing with, because I realized the underclassmen are all boys, but it is a co-ed sport. So there are girls, but they're all upperclassmen. They're all in the upper class group. But it's a co-ed sport. And so, but he's learning how to trust, how to have friends, and he's had to hide for so long that he may actually be finding people that he likes. But as the story progresses, he realizes that he's getting deeper and deeper into all the stuff that he didn't want to get into. And his past starts coming up significantly in kind of like the worst ways possible, you know? A lot of drama goes down as he extends through his past. And so we get more into that past in the second book, in The Raven King. And so that's literally as far as I've gotten. I've only got through the first 2 series. Still listen to me. The first 2 books, there are still 2 books to go. But that's all I've read of the series so far. I do want to finish it. It's getting good. And so then the final book that I read in the month of December, which I did finish, again, if you saw my January TBR, I did finish it. And that is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Loved it. 5-star read. I tabbed the hell out of it. Oh my god. It was so good. Love. Love, 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 love. So we follow Amelia, who has a twin who ends up dying. Brutally murdered. And so her goal is to find out who did it. And so she ends up summoning the demon Wrath. Wrath being one of the 7 demons of hell, and ends up going through this whole thing with Wrath and some of his brothers to figure out what on earth happened to her sister. And come to find out, Wrath also wants to find out what happened to her sister, because it's like it's like kind of like he was part of it, but he wasn't part of it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that we learn from, we find out through the book. It's kind of like trying to pin it on, it's kind of almost like a whodunit, but with the demons of hell and other things that go on, to say the least. But of course, we finished the book, if I remember correctly. We end the book on a wicked cliffhanger. Just saying. The ending is not what I expected. I'll tell you that right now. Nope. Hold on, I'm having to read this last chapter again really quick. My goodness. Okay. For some odd reason, I got one of the names mixed up. So there is a piece of this that complete shocker. And so, but I read the wrong name in the last chapter. And I can't believe I did that because because like I said, it was completely not what I expected, when in reality, like, it was what I expected it to be. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it kind of ends up really sucking at the end. But it's like, I feel so much for Amelia. But it's really good. Like, I'm not saying that it's like bad. When I say that it sucks, I'm like, just read it, read the series. Oh my gosh. I didn't mean that to sound negative. It's not negative. It's just, it's a plot twist, and it's a progression of the storyline. And it's just like, things are happening, but it's like not the way that like it was intended to happen or you expected to happen. It's like, it's twisty, and I love it. That was so much fun. I can't wait to continue the series. So yeah, that was so much fun. I thoroughly enjoyed reading the books this month. I am slowly but surely getting through my physical TBR, which is awesome, because I have a bunch of Kindle books too, but there's something about getting through the physical books that are on my shelf. I just had a good old time. So, did I say what I rated Kingdom of the Wicked? I think I said this is a 5-star read. If I didn't say that already, I might have, but just again, it's a 5-star read. Definitely deserving. Can't wait to continue. So that is November and December. I've got a good chunk of books ready for January. I'm super excited to get started on this new calendar year, and I'm super excited. So I do kind of want to do a yearly wrap up as well, so I may do that. It's like there's stuff for the transition of the calendar years that I want to do, but we'll see what I can get to. And so, but at least thank you so much for joining me on my wrap up of November and December. Had a good old time, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, as well as a good new year. I look forward to continuing to expand my reading journey and my content with you guys. And so please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and just comment. Okay, I want to know what your favorite read of December was. Mine was Kingdom of the Wicked, for sure. Kingdom of the Wicked was my favorite December read. And I want to know, what are you excited to read for the month of January? Let me know down in the comments, and I'm super excited to look at those. And again, thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.